Hello, Brickdark here. Today I'm reviewing the 2001 TIE Fighter from LEGO Star Wars. This has two minifigures, 171 pieces, and retailed for $20 when it released back in the day. Here is the Stormtrooper of the set. He does use that older style blaster where they just put a stud on top of the megaphone piece. Pretty simplistic printing, as this is 2001. Underneath, he has a plain yellow minifigure head, which is pretty interesting. They wouldn't introduce the black heads underneath for another couple of years. Just interesting to see how classic figures began. Here is the TIE Fighter pilot, and for the first couple of years of the TIE Fighter pilot, until I think 2010, they would use the same helmet piece as the Stormtrooper, which looks very odd. They got their own updated piece in 2010. You do get the imperial emblem at the top, as well as a breathing apparatus. No back torso printing, as this is a 2001 figure. And then underneath is a reddish-brown minifigure head, which is also interesting. Why this one isn't yellow is kind of interesting. Maybe it has to do with the actors in the movie. Maybe there was a white actor in the Stormtrooper and a black actor under the TIE Fighter helmet, but we will probably never know why LEGO chose to do this. There's two builds of this set. You have this little stand for the TIE Fighter and then the TIE Fighter itself. For the TIE Fighter, it is pretty primitive. It does show its age a lot. They use a lot of old gray, and they have these blue parts on the wings, and as they don't appear, the wings are not blue in the movie. They use a lot of big panel pieces and then a lot of these grill pieces to get kind of a shaping, which I think is alright. You do have a sticker of the Imperial logo. You can kind of see it's not attached securely. These wings do wobble. They are attached by Technic pin connections, where newer models have clips attached to them, which may sound like a looser connection, but it's a lot stronger. You have a lot of exposed colors, like this bit of tan at the back and some red studs. You do have engine exhaust, as well as this older style connection piece. They don't use this set of pieces to connect things anymore, and as such, as you can see, it's very loose. It doesn't stay in place. You do have this printed piece up top, and then the printed cockpit itself. If you want to access the interior, you can just lift up the cockpit and fit your TIE Pilot minifigure in there pretty easily. If I get him to sit down properly, you can see there's also a printed control panel in there. Closes up, doesn't attach to any studs or anything, and so it may open while you're flying the thing around. I will say though, it is very easy to hold on to the TIE Fighter right here and move it around. I have seen, especially with the new one, I distinctly remember moving the 2015 Special Forces TIE Fighter, and one of the wings dropping off and breaking some of the skin on my toe. Now this one I don't have that problem with. I've swooshed it around a decent bit, and it hasn't folded up, so while the wings may kind of wobble, they may be a bit more secure. So that's about it for the build of the TIE Fighter. Let's take a look at that little stand. This stand really isn't much. It's just a couple pieces, including this tower piece in an old gray, which that could be interesting to you. You do also have this long tube piece. Now what you can do is place the TIE Fighter or another TIE vehicle from about this around this era, like the TIE Interceptor. And now it doesn't attach via any studs, so I would not recommend having it on the stand like this, or unless you do, I would recommend modifying it, because it just goes into that little hole there, and it's not very secure, and I don't recommend displaying it with the stand. I recommend just displaying it like this and having this part separate. But that's it for the builds of this cell. Let's take a look at the instructions. Instructions are surprisingly massive. Like, these have about the same dimensions as, say, a $130 set. On the back, it does have some LEGO Star Wars Technic sets, as well as some sets from 1999 and 2000, like this Millennium Falcon and this Sith Infiltrator. I do own that Imperial ATST and the Imperial Shuttle, which I did a review of rather recently, as this is that 2001 style where you do kind of have little shots of the set from the movie, which is pretty interesting, and also it folds like this, and that's how it goes into the box. So in my opinion, this 2001 TIE Fighter definitely shows its age a lot more than the 2001 Imperial Shuttle. Not to say that set didn't kind of show its age, but this one shows its age a lot more. You do have that blue design on the end of the wings and in some of that central area, which it's just not accurate, and it looks pretty weird in comparison to modern TIE fighters. You also have the stand, which I do not recommend putting it on there. It is not stable on there at all. It's a balancing act to try and get it to stay on there. As well as the cockpit being a bit loose. So, this is not a terrible set. There's much more flawed sets that have come out in recent years. But I will say it doesn't hold up that well. And because of that, I would give this set a 6.5 out of 10. Again, I don't think this is a terrible set. I am lucky to own this. However, if you want vintage Star Wars, I would recommend going with that Imperial Shuttle, as that Imperial Shuttle really does hold up very well, especially in comparison to this. Anyways, that's it for this video. See you guys later. Peace.